Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Optimization and Management of Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud Platform and Private Clouds. My name is Eric Hernandez and I will be your host for today's presentation. Our featured Citrix speakers today are Steve Wilson, VP of Products, Cloud and IoT, and Robin Manke-Cassidy, Director of Product Marketing, Networking. Before we get started, let me cover a couple housekeeping details. We will have a dedicated question and answer session at the end of today's presentation and invite you to submit your questions at any time during the presentation using the Ask a Question window in the webinar interface. Also, this event is being recorded and a link to the on-demand version will be sent to everyone in a follow-up email. With that, I will now hand it over to Robin to start the presentation. Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Eric. Welcome, everybody. Today we're going to talk about the cloud and what cloud brings to your environment. We all know that cloud is here and it's here to stay. It's a technology that's expanding quite quickly. It's evolving quite quickly. In fact, in a recent article in Forbes, they estimate that 77% of enterprises have at least one application or a portion of their enterprise infrastructure already in the cloud to help them increase business agility and innovation to drive their businesses forward and grow. So let's get things started. I thought I would focus our attention first for those of you that are just starting out or starting to think about your cloud journey and to figure out what you should do. So let's find out from Steve how Citrix can help companies transition to the cloud. Steve?
Thanks, Robin. So let's talk about this. Everybody starts from the same place in their cloud journey, especially for existing large enterprises, which is you start in your data center. And you start with a well-understood model. And as you make those first steps to the cloud, you have a lot of considerations that you need to take into consideration. So how are you going to start to move workloads and what is that going to look like as you move them to the cloud? How are you going to pick your rate at which you're going to move to the cloud? What types of applications are you going to move first? How quickly are you going to be able to move? And then ultimately, a really critical part of your decisions is making sure that you can preserve your choices through your cloud transition. And when we look at this, people often talk about the cloud, but that's really a misnomer. There is no the cloud. The cloud is a lot of different things. And what we have is all of the major public clouds, as well as most enterprises at this point have what you would term one or more private clouds built on top of different technologies. And so really what we see as customers go through a cloud transition is in almost every case, there are two properties that cloud transition has. One is it is hybrid, meaning it is going to include both private cloud and public cloud resources. The other is that it is multi-cloud. Almost nobody picks a single cloud and then decides to migrate all their resources there. It's really a multi-cloud world. And that's true when we're just talking about infrastructure as a service, as we are here, but it becomes even more true as we start to think about the larger ecosystems that evolve in the cloud. And these large ecosystems involve infrastructure as a service, but also software as a service. They involve things like mobile devices and how do they interface to applications and services in the cloud. So it really becomes a much larger context and a much larger ecosystem. And we really view our Citrix Workspace strategy as the crux that allows you to take advantage of all of these different ecosystems as you start to move to the cloud.
So tell me about how Citrix can help customers start their cloud journey.
So, key thing to start to think about is what are the things that you're going to run into as you go through a cloud journey? And Citrix now has helped thousands of customers with their first steps into the cloud. And we see a couple of things that come up. One thing that is a continual worry is poor user experience. And we see this as customers start to move workloads, whether it's moving a workload from their data center into an infrastructure as a service cloud, or even taking advantage of different SaaS services, you're going to wind up with a much different set of network considerations, network topologies, and it has the potential to dramatically change your user experience. The other one is on the IT security and management side. This is probably the chief thing that slows down a cloud migration, is going through the process of figuring out how are you going to monitor, manage, and secure this cloud environment. It brings up a whole new set of challenges for people in terms of securing that environment and meeting any audit and compliance challenges that you may have based on your business. And ultimately, our Citrix Cloud strategy with our Citrix Workspace are designed to help you address both of these kinds of challenges.
So I know one of the major challenges that organizations everywhere struggle with is user experience or poor experience from whatever technology, IT, or the business decides to implement. So what are some of the challenges customers are facing when it comes to poor user experience, especially when moving to the cloud?
Well, so let's talk about this. Certainly, one of the chief ones is simply the performance of different types of applications. This can vary really dramatically depending on where they're hosted and what kind of networks they're coming over. This links directly to, again, with the network considerations that you have as you move to the cloud. What does this do to things like your network latency? What are your availability characteristics? But then you get into some of the more soft challenges when you get out of pure performance and networking and really get into the environment of what it means to be in the cloud and what it means to frankly have access to a tremendously large pool of data that you can access from your fingertips, as well as the ability to have more and more different types of applications that you have access to. So we see a continual challenge, not necessarily on application experience, but on overall employee productivity. And so this could come from managing multiple accounts, multiple passwords. It comes from intense context switching, where, frankly, if you keep interrupting an employee every few minutes with a different task or make them constantly context switch from one app to another, it can dramatically decrease their productivity. And ultimately, as we give people more and more information that they have access to, they may spend more and more of their time searching through it to find the information they need, in fact, slowing them down dramatically. So if we look at this from the IT perspective in terms of challenges, this is a dramatic change in terms of how you monitor your environment. How do I get visibility and control into these new cloud-based environments? Today, I have these deeply siloed teams maybe where I have traditional teams that own networking, compute, and storage, where in the cloud, those things are really deeply intertwined, and I may need to actually restructure parts of how I manage, even from a human resources perspective. And then ultimately, the cloud brings with it a lot of opportunity, but also a lot of new threats. And certainly security is one of those challenges that you need to actively manage.
So, you said something very interesting there. I think user experience or employee experience with their applications and their interactions isn't just an IT concern. It's actually an HR concern and a business strategy that needs to be taken into consideration. So, Steve, what are some of the ways that Workspace app and Citrix Workspace in general can help improve that experience in the cloud?
So when we think about the dramatic change that you can provide in user experience with the Citrix Workspace, there's no better place to start than day zero, your actual employee onboarding. It's something that everybody has to go through. And traditionally, this is complicated. You need to get a new laptop, get it imaged, get the applications installed on it, figure out all the accounts, all the passwords. We can turn this into a single-click experience with the Citrix workspace. So I get an email that gives me access to my workspace. I click on it, and it goes ahead and launches my workspace. Takes me through the login procedure, and once I'm logged in, now I have a whole new world of applications and data that I have access to instantly. So without having to have done, pre-grooming on the computer, installing a bunch of complicated software, I now have what's called the Citrix workspace. And from this, I have secure, instant access to all of the SaaS applications that are provided to me by my employer, virtualized applications and desktops, the kinds of things people are used to getting from Citrix for the last 30 years, as well as, interestingly now, all of my documents. So this isn't just the documents stored on my laptop. This is the documents stored in the cloud, in on-premises file servers, SharePoint servers. We basically can aggregate all of the documents you need access to, no matter where they're stored. And then finally, access to mobile applications as well if you're on a mobile device, because the Citrix workspace supports both desktop-style form factors, things like Mac, Windows, and Linux, as well as an array of thin clients, but also supports mobile form factors with things like iOS and Android.
So that's really cool. And now that we have all these applications in one visual way for me as an employee, performance can be a huge issue when coming from the cloud because I'm in different places everywhere. I'm using different devices. So, how is Citrix addressing application performance challenges with these applications now coming from, cloud locations?
All right, well, let's talk about this. There's a lot of things that you need to take into account as your applications get more distributed and move to the cloud. You need to worry about connection reliability. You need to worry about outages. You need to worry about things like bandwidth and latency, because you need all of these to be true for you to get great performance on your networked applications, no matter where you are. It's no longer the case that your applications are sitting in the data center next to the office. Your employees are mobile. They're everywhere in the world, and they're getting the applications from different places, different clouds, delivered in different places. So that's going to put a lot of demands on your network. So let's look at a real-world example of this and a real-world cloud application. Probably the most popular cloud application in the world today is the Microsoft Office 365 suite. So Microsoft Office, as it's evolved to become a true cloud-native collection of services, obviously things that have run in your data center forever, your Exchange servers, your Active Directory, your device management, as well as entirely new services like Microsoft Teams, have moved to the cloud. And this puts a lot of demands on you. Our Citrix workspace and networking technologies allow you to get dramatically better experience from these applications. So let's dig in a little bit and see how that works. So one of the key technologies for getting great performance out of your cloud applications, and in particular for Office 365, is what we call our SD-WAN product. SD-WAN is designed to connect remote locations to your data center or to the cloud. And we've done a very close collaboration with Microsoft using what we call their virtual WAN service to integrate our SD-WAN with Microsoft. And this allows us to get that great performance as well as high security for accessing the Office 365 applications. When we look at this, one of the key things for any cloud-based application is how to optimize the traffic. And we've, again, done deep integration with Microsoft. We understand what the traffic for Office 365 looks like so that we can optimally route it and optimally secure it. So again, we get better performance and better security for those Office applications that are hosted in the cloud. So ultimately, though, it's not just Office 365. There are so many SaaS providers out there these days, and we can offer better performance and better access to over 4,000 different SaaS applications. So really, it goes beyond SD-WAN, though. There's a whole collection of technologies that we can get into that offer us better user experience, from simply improved load balancing all the way over to really advanced new technologies like our intelligent traffic routing and a lot of capabilities to give IT better visibility and access control over those network connections to the cloud. And this really leads to what we call our hybrid multi-cloud networking strategy. Remember, back at the top of this discussion, we talked about the fact that every cloud transformation is going to be hybrid. It's going to include on-prem resources as well as public cloud resources, and it's going to be multi-cloud. It's not going to be just one public cloud. Our technologies are optimized for that kind of environment where we can put the right networking resources either onto the right premises or into the right cloud. And then what we have is something called Citrix ADM. And Citrix ADM allows us to get full control over this distributed environment. So we now have control and visibility across a distributed hybrid multi-cloud environment, which can be really critical to this kind of transformation. So let's take a quick look at what SD-WAN looks like in this type of environment. So if we look at say a typical large organization often has what we generically refer to as branches. That could be something like a bank branch. It could be a remote clinic for a hospital. It could be a store for a retailer, or a lot of other combinations like that, but some kind of remote office. And we're going to use our SD-WAN capabilities to connect us optimally to the internet. We're going to allow ourselves to get better access and better security as we access those resources. And not just anything over the internet, but also in particular SaaS resources. So it's going to allow us to connect from the branch back to the data center or to any type of cloud, whether that be things hosted on the public internet, SaaS applications, or our own data center applications. So just looking at a use case, just to wrap this up, the SD-WAN can allow you to bring those connections closer to you, whether your applications are somewhere like Amazon Web Services or Azure, and create those reliable connections that go directly from the branch or the data center to those clouds. You can take advantage of these direct connect type resources as well, and really use this as a holistic strategy for building out that kind of distributed networking multi-cloud environment.
So Steve, now that we have been talking about how to make our users' experience more delightful and to really want to use the services that is Workspace app and Workspace itself. So let's talk a minute about what we're doing to help the IT managers. How are we helping improve their experience?
That's a great question because, again, as an IT department, there's a lot of fear and trepidation that comes with this move to the cloud. You know, how many new skills is this going to require? Is it going to cost me more? Am I going to need new staffing? And so our Citrix Cloud technologies are really designed to help you answer those questions and really make this move as simple as possible for IT. So let's dig into this and look at it. So for starters, the Citrix Cloud gives you access to not just a single application, but really a whole collection of resources primarily oriented at delivering those great user experiences for the end users at your corporation. And so with this, as you dig down into it, the first thing that we want to do is simplify your management. And the idea is to allow you to move some of your management that might have been on your premises before, move it up to Citrix Cloud. And ultimately, though, you get the choice of, am I keeping applications on my premises or in the cloud? And so you now get a common, what we call control plane, that allows you to manage on-prem resources or cloud resources, even spread across multiple data centers or multiple clouds, with everything simplified and managed from one place. And that includes being able to manage services for things like remote apps and desktops, mobile device management, content management, virtually everything you need for an end user employee. As we get down into it, we're going to allow you to do detailed configuration on your applications and your desktops. And again, do that from a single common place where you can manage these applications no matter where they sit. The other thing you're going to get is this hybrid multi-cloud visibility, where you're going to be able to dig down deep into any aspect that you need to understand about how your users are using these resources and the experiences that they're seeing. The other thing that we've done is we've really optimized Citrix Cloud to help you control your costs. Again, after security, probably the biggest fear about a move to a public cloud is, what is this going to cost me? How do I control those costs, and how do I bound them? And we have a set of technologies that allow us to, on your behalf, automatically monitor the load from your users, the consumption of applications and desktops, and automatically scale up and down your consumption of resources in the public cloud. And we've seen customers get massive savings from turning this on, allowing them to really control those bills in the public cloud and get the promise of cloud computing in terms of that on-demand cost profile.
So at the beginning of the webinar, we were talking about the challenges that moving to the cloud brings. And one of those challenges is really around security. As you know, moving to the cloud, it introduces new threat vectors, new players, and new things that we need to think about from a security perspective. Not only protection of our data in these cloud scenarios, but also getting to them and your data in motion and those types of things. So how does Citrix help us with that risk?
All right, let's dig into this, and let's look at the kinds of applications that you can deliver from the Citrix workspace, and how do we add value there. So what you see here again is the Citrix workspace with all of the applications that I need to do my job. And this includes the kind of applications that our customers have been delivering for years, things like virtualized Windows applications, VDI desktops. But it's not just those kinds of applications anymore. The fastest growing segment of applications in the enterprise is SaaS applications delivered with web technologies. So one of the reasons that people love virtualized applications is the containerization that we provide that allows us to offer enhanced security. And one of the big worries people have as they move to public cloud SaaS applications is that they may lose some of that control, with the ability for anyone to log in anywhere on the planet with, really no security controls beyond just sort of identity and login. It's a big worry for people. So we've put a lot of energy into offering the benefits that we always have for virtualized applications, now with SaaS and web applications. So if we look at this, if I open an application in my web browser from home, one of the things that we're able to do from the Citrix workspace is detect that this is an application that has a security profile that may require enhanced security in this context. And this is a capability we call Cloud App Control. And this allows us to put extra controls onto that application in line transparently to the user. But what they may see are added controls where, based on context, we can restrict actions like copy and paste and printing to reduce data exfiltration risks. We can add watermarks to remind people about the confidential nature of certain kinds of data and documents. So we really give you that full end-to-end control. And we can decide dynamically whether we want to allow you to connect direct over the internet or route you through one of these secured channels, or frankly, deny you access altogether based on the context that you're in. The next piece that we look at is the SD-WAN use case, again, as it relates to SaaS applications. And so one of the capabilities that we have is integrated what we call deep packet inspection. And the idea here is that we can look at the traffic going over these connections in real time dynamically and decide what kind of connections and what kind of content are allowed based on your IT policies. And so you can see here our ability to provide this secure web gateway functionality for different users and different applications can really dramatically strengthen your security profile. And ultimately, think about this for high-risk scenarios such as things inside legal firms. When are you allowing things like video chatting? All of that. So really, when you think about adding your SaaS applications to your overall portfolio of cloud applications, we've built application integrations with hundreds of SaaS applications now into the Citrix workspace. We're deploying them into your workspaces as simple as a few clicks through a wizard to get them up and configured and allow us to start providing enhanced security. But there's really more to it than that. And when we get to the next level, this may be some of the most interesting things that we're talking to customers about now, is how can they start to take advantage of some of these new technologies coming out, like artificial intelligence and deep analytics. And one of the places that we've seen is the biggest opportunity here is computer security, and in particular, the security of your end users. And so we have taken a position where we can use the Citrix workspace to collect data on your behalf and analyze the user behavior in real time. We could use this to understand different types of security threats very dynamically using machine learning models that detect abnormal behavior. We can use it to detect things that may be bad actors, may also just be poor security practices by your employees. But ultimately, it allows you as an IT department to not just get visibility, but get actionable, automated responses that you can tune based on your preferences. But we're really adding a layer of intelligence and what we call user behavior analytics into the mix to allow you to not just get to be as secure as you were before you moved to the cloud, but actually now start to take advantage of cloud technologies to be more secure than you were before your move to the cloud.
Thanks, Steve. That is so informative, and I can see now how you can break down that move to the cloud in a very logical way and create the journey that your company can go on. So I think what's great about what Citrix is doing with the workspace and with our networking technologies is that we're really focused on three key themes. We're focused on experience, not only the employee, but the IT experience as well. We're focused on choice. We want you to be able to run your business where you want to run it, whether it's in a public cloud, a private cloud, or on-prem. And we also want to help provide that security. Thinking of the security in a different way than you have today. Thinking of it not as point solutions that you're throwing into your environment or your infrastructure to help protect you, but to think of it holistically and think of it from your end users. Think of it as a people-centric approach where you're focused on the users and what they're accessing and how to secure that from end to end. I think that's a great story and a great advantage for Citrix. So I want to say thank you to everybody for helping out today, Steve and Eric. But I wanted to go away with the thought that the Citrix portfolio as a whole, the Citrix Workspace, Citrix Networking, and Citrix Analytics actually helps you drive your work and your business into the future, not just for tomorrow, but for years to come. So Eric, I'd like to pass it back over to you and see if there's any questions that we can help answer from our audience.
Thanks, Steve and Robin. So now as we move into the Q&A, I would like to remind our audience that if you have a question, please submit it in the Ask a Question area on your screen. Simply type your question into the text box and then hit Submit. Okay, so our first question up is, let's see here, user experience is a key driver for my CIO. What would you suggest would be the one suggestion to make the biggest impact?
This is Steve. I'll take a crack at answering that. So I think one of the things that you want to think about is how do you really architect for success? I've seen this go two ways where some companies do what I'll call a piecemeal cloud move, where it isn't really planned in advance. It happens bit by bit. It happens organically, department by department, application by application, versus planning it out centrally and really making sure that you're putting the infrastructure in place to optimize the delivery of those applications, to be able to monitor them and analyze them and take a holistic approach to it that's going to allow you to deliver that end-to-end experience. So I'd say single piece of advice is plan for success and build out the hybrid multi-cloud infrastructure that you're going to need to ensure success.
Excellent answer. All right, our next question up is, Citrix Workspace app looks like the solution for our users. How do we ensure the performance to our remote sites?
Steve, I'll take a crack at this one. Or go ahead.
Nope, go for it.
Excellent. So, Workspace app and Workspace itself is a great solution to provide that one pane of glass for your users. But you really need to think about the transition between your applications in the cloud and to wherever your users are. And a lot of them are at remote sites. As you mentioned here, remote sites are very important to you. So SD-WAN from Citrix is the way to address that. And actually, when we talk about to customers about Workspace, we automatically mention that SD-WAN needs to be part of the performance. Not only optimization between the cloud and the remote site, but also the choice that you have in being able to go directly to internet sites or SaaS applications and not complicate it, and the addition of the Microsoft Office 365 is a huge advantage. Steve, do you think I've missed anything?
No, I think SD-WAN is definitely a big component of what can help optimize that. The other thing to think about going forward is really taking advantage of our inbuilt analytics capabilities that can really give you deeper insight into the performance of applications and users, and that's going to be a big benefit too.
No, you're right. Great point.
Great detail, you two. Okay, our next question is there anything special that we need to purchase from Microsoft to take advantage of the optimizations in SD-WAN?
You want to take that, Robin?
Sure, I'll go ahead and take that. No, everything has been already taken care of between Microsoft and Citrix. The APIs are open for us to be able to use. So as soon as you have purchased SD-WAN, those capabilities are already built into the system for you to go. Actually, we just released that in December, so version 10.2 is ready for optimization for Office 365 today.
Nice, I love it. Okay, so the last question that we're going to take today is, how does Citrix Analytics and the analytics from Citrix ADM work together? Are they the same thing?
Robin, you want to take that one?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. We get this question quite a bit. So Citrix Analytics is the overall analytics solution for Citrix. ADM, as most of you know if you are in our networking world already, is the management console that's been used to manage ADCs across your environments. And it also has those analytics built in that pull in the networking performance and application performance. That is being shared within Citrix Analytics today. You'll see these guys come closer together as we move forward over the next several years. But the two are playing very closely and are integrated very closely to be able to bring that networking and application performance data right in, so it can also bring in the security. If you know our ADM solution, there's also security information in there as well. So all of that gets sucked into Citrix Analytics. So as it's creating the user profiles for security and for performance, it's taking into consideration everything. Every product in the portfolio brings in the information that makes most sense, and then uses the machine learning to get you the answer that you need.
Great way to wrap our Q&A. Thank you very much, you two. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. I would like to thank Steve and Robin for a very informative presentation, and also thank our audience for joining us. A quick reminder, you can check out and register for upcoming webinars and events by going to citrix.com/events. We hope you have a great day.